It's the Art of Action Figures coming at you with a big old box. This is the ZT Toys Broly figure, second version with the green hair and maroon skirt. I passed on the version 1 because, frankly, I'm just not about Broly with yellow hair. There's not too much exciting going on with the box other than it's huge. Here's a normal SHF retail box for comparison. So make sure you got some room set aside. But let's go ahead and unpack everything. Inside the shipper, we have two equally tall, half as wide, glossy black boxes. This one feels about 5 times heavier than this one, and that's because it contains the main body, and then this one just has the head sculpt and energy effects. Yeah, very nondescript box. I actually kind of prefer that to the AI generated Kong or Beast Deities or Mythos or Red Bolt or whatever they're going by now puts on their boxes. They did borrow the Z from the Dragon Ball Z logo, but other than that, this is just a container to put the stuff in. So let's go ahead and take the stuff out. On the left, we have the figure's main body, 6 pairs of hands, swappable crossed arms, and an alternate neck peg that's slightly longer than the default one. On the right, we have the head sculpt, 5 alternate faces, 2 small key blast effects, and 1 large key blast effect that you have to assemble. And finally, not to be missed, be very careful not to lose this, earrings. They come on this gold runner piece. Mine was just wedged kind of clumsily below the hair sculpt, and 3 of the earrings were already detached and kind of floating around in the box. One of them was broken. You get a total of 12. For 5 faces, you need 10, so 2 extras. Assembling the figure is pretty straightforward. Something about this hair is the faces don't fit super nicely in the gap. They're supposed to wedge between and plug all the way up into the hair. And I had seen a lot of photos floating around where his face looked really weirdly long, and I think that's the result of people not inserting the face all the way into the head. All right, we're back after some assembly required. Before putting him together, I actually disassembled him as much as I could and gave him a nice dish soap bath. And the reason for that was, out of the box, this figure feels a little gross. If you've ever bought third-party figures, maybe they felt kind of, oh, this is a problem. We'll get to this. Maybe they feel a little chalky or I don't know, kind of gritty feeling. This figure had that real bad, so I gave him a nice bath in some dish soap, a little bit of a scrub, and then I put him all together. He feels much nicer now. Doesn't leave any weird residue on my hands. I don't know about you all, but I do not like having any kind of residue or weird textures in my hands. So that was really off-putting for me to start with, but the figure looks so good, I wanted to see if I could get around it, and luckily giving it a dish soap bath has pretty much solved that problem, but it was pretty time-consuming because there were a lot of little pieces. Once I broke them down, I had to scrub and rinse each one, dry them off, put them all back together, and here we are. Where we left off, I was talking about installing the faces and how if you don't push it in all the way, it makes his face look really long. If you heat this pocket of the hair a little bit, though, you can see that you can push the face all the way up so that it sits flush with the top of that pocket. And then once you do that and you install the bangs, it looks much more normal to me than images online led me to believe. A second assembly note, this is the longer of the 2 included neck pegs. I took a dish towel and some pliers and yanked the shorter one out. It was in there pretty tight. Luckily, the hair snaps on pretty easily. It doesn't pop off too easily or anything, but it's not the Beast Deities Broly situation where it's like wrestling with a porcupine for 2 hours. So that was good. The reason I'm using the longer peg is I think it just gives me more options. It gives his neck a little bit more clearance from the hair, and so he has more range of motion in every direction. And depending on what pose I'm trying to do, I can make his neck look shorter just by kind of bringing the head forward. You do have to attach the earrings, and you only get 2 spare ones, so be very careful when you're doing that. One of mine was already broken out of the package, and then I broke another one trying to shove the faceplate up into the hair. So there go my 2 spares, but managed to get the rest of them on. They're very small, delicate pieces, very easy to lose. I don't like how they kind of move around as I'm moving the head. They like collide with the neck and shift out of position. Honestly, I just prefer these were sculpted on, or might be able to find some little like gold key rings or something to replace these with if you do lose some or break them. That would be more durable as well. And tough to get these two in frame together, but I was wondering, and I know people are going to wonder, how the ZT Broly compares to Beast Deity's version. I know people have compared the version 1 already, but as I mentioned, I passed on that one. So this is my first time having ZT in hand. As you can see, both are enormous. Here is Games Begin Goku for comparison. A couple of things really stand out to me. Color palette, of course, which Beast Deities went for brighter, more saturated green and red. ZT02 has kind of more of a like seafoam green for the hair, maroon for the skirt, duotone for the pants, and then the golds. And the golds are more straight gold rather than this like slight bronze tint that Beast Deities has. Apart from the colors, the other major difference is the sculpting, and Beast Deities has taken a much more like softer, primitive approach. And I mean primitive in the sense of starting with like some basic shapes and sculpting a little bit of detail into them, but not going too extreme with it. You can see like front to back, the torso is fairly like flat and uniform, whereas if we look at ZT here, the volumes are a lot more pronounced and dynamic looking. Even down to things like the wrinkles in his clothes. They're sharper and a little bit more purposeful on ZT. Beast Deities has kind of a general pattern. You see the stretches in the fabric here seem just a little bit more intentional. They have kind of these like pleats going up into the belt area, and then it kind of drapes asymmetrically down to the bottom. It's really just a much more refined sculpting approach. Did they go overboard? Maybe a little bit, but I think that works for Broly. I think Broly is the like overboard buff character. So similar to how it doesn't bother me that he's super tall, he's kind of the giant character of DBZ. I think the hair sculpt is another area where Beast Deities kind of fell flat. They ended up releasing an additional hair sculpt that you had to buy separately. I never bothered with that one because I didn't think it looked significantly better. And on its own, if I take this guy away for a minute, like, I don't think this looks bad. I think his head's maybe a little bit small. It's still a very fun, large Broly figure. I think the colors work really well. And something that people are saying about Kong's UI Goku, they have some resemblance to the Fighters character models, which are great references. And I think the same actually can be said for their Broly. On its own, I think it's still a very good figure. Now, bringing ZT back in, this is almost like a fusion of certain shots from the movie, but the other inspiration seems to be, what if Tamashii made an updated Z Broly? They seem to be taking cues from that original 1.0 Broly, including the hair sculpt, the extra big shoulders, even things like the color palettes that they've chosen. The ZT version 1 was pretty much the 1.0 original color scheme. This one seems to be going for the event exclusive color scheme, which I've always preferred to the 1.0. Like I said, Broly's got green hair. I know in the character design spec he had yellow hair, but in the movie he's got green hair. They've also taken some inspiration from Tamashii's Dragon Ball Super Broly in the muscle anatomy sculpting and the skin tone shading. And that figure is one of the best examples of Tamashii doing those things really well. And it's the reason people like me are a little frustrated that they haven't updated from the 1.0 Z Broly, because we know that if they did, it could be as good or better than the Dragon Ball Super Broly. And it's the look that I prefer. So unfortunately, there just isn't an official option for it. And these third-party companies are thriving in the gaps that Tamashii just leaves wide open by ignoring what people are asking for year after year after year after year after year. I feel like people have been saying, oh, they're just finishing up Namek and moving on to Cell, be patient, for like 5 years now. Gotta go with the devilish grin as the default face for Broly. He does come with a neutral face, which we'll look at later, but I really like the expression here. There's actual sculpted indentations at the corners of the mouth. Expression lines around the eyes are really nicely done. Zooming out just a bit to take a look at the hair sculpt, it's one solid color. It's just this kind of light seafoam green. I don't know if that's the right name for this color, but that's what the crayon would be called, I think. You could maybe make an argument for some shading or some kind of finish painted onto the hair, but I don't know. It works just fine for me. The sculpt is so sharp that you get natural shadows pretty easily. So I've got a ton of light on him here. If I turn one of these off, like you can see, the shadows start to emerge. It doesn't just turn into kind of a blob. And it's very easy to go overboard with shading, I think. The gold necklace is a separate sculpt that seems to be glued onto the torso. It has some metallic paint. And then throughout his costume, he has these little blue gems. The chain floats a little bit above his collar there. There's some light brown shading in the creases of the muscles, which is done pretty well. It's maybe a little bit heavy in the abdomen, but I think shading around the muscle volumes is usually a good look for Dragon Ball figures. And it's repeated all the way around, including on the back, and including, we'll get to this, including in the butterfly joint caps. A little bit of a smudge on his right arm there. I don't know what's going on with the arm sculpt in here. I'm not sure that's supposed to look that way. Whenever you're sculpting, or drawing for that matter, it's common to start with basic shapes, spheres, boxes, cylinders, and kind of refine the edges where the primitive volumes overlap and kind of blend them together. The difference in approach is very visible if, for example, you look at Broly's biceps, a very prominent feature of the character, and from this angle you can really see how spherical Beast Deity's volume is. Compare that to the more boxy shape. Kind of a general difference in approach between these two figures. It's also very apparent if you look at his torso from the side. You can see just how sharply the chest changes direction. It sticks out to here and then it goes down. Beast Deity's much flatter by comparison. Looking at these gauntlets, the paint and color matches his necklace, and again another blue gemstone in the back of each one. That motif repeats again for his belt. Then he has this reddish maroon skirt. It has a cut on either side, and then the middle piece is somewhat independent, but it's kind of glued into the back. It's a pretty soft, flexible material. Pants are very interesting. They're kind of a dual tone bluish gray and almost like a yellowish gray. The bluish gray is in kind of the low light areas, and the yellowish gray in the highlight areas. I'm not really sure what inspired them to do that, but maybe it's this way on the Bandai figure. But you can see the wrinkles have like a good amount of depth. If you look at them in profile, again, they're like pretty boxy shaped. Like that kind of has like a staircase shape to it, right? And if you compare these deities, it's kind of, I don't know, more of a like cake frosting shape. Getting down to his boots, same golden paint and blue gems as the gauntlets, the belt, and the necklace. He has some maroon socks that match his skirt, and then just flat soles across the bottom. For articulation, dumbbell joint at the top of the neck, ball joint at the bottom. The hair is not super flexible at the bottom, but still able to look up a good 30 degrees or so. He can look all the way down. How much can he look down past his chest? About that much. And as I mentioned, this is the extended neck peg, so it gives you a little bit of extra reach. Side to side tilt. He has 3.0 style shoulders that roll all the way around. If you bring the arms above the chest a little bit, you can almost get the wrists. It's tricky because this right arm likes to pop out. Boy from the Future Trunks style, if you know what that means. He can bring his arms together about that much towards the front, which is not bad with his big bulky chest. They can also go back a little bit. Similar amount. Shoulder rolls all the way around. You can bring it up and down. A lot of people don't realize this style of shoulder can actually do this. So you can make him look big and broad-shouldered as you like. Or tuck them in for a more tensed, compact look. Bicep swivel goes all the way around. Double joint elbow, big old bicep, so it gets just about 90 degrees. It has the standard Figuarts ball hinge wrists that work really well. Good bicep curl. There's at least one ball joint between the chest and the abdomen, and then another ball joint at the waist. With all of that, he crunches forward really well, actually, like pecs to belt, so that's good. Leans back a really good amount. Side-to-side tilt is pretty good, limited by where the rib cage hits the skirt. Maybe 30 degrees or so on the side-to-side. He can rotate at both joints. It's pretty stiff. I didn't mention, but the chest piece is kind of a soft, flexible material, but it doesn't have a ton of give to it. It's just soft enough that you're not going to like scratch the figure on it. 3.0 style hip joint, complete with butt flap. Without the skirt, they can kick out all the way, but with the skirt on, they do start to kind of block it at a certain point, and that point is about here. I've seen some copies with loose hips. My left hip is a little on the loose side, but it holds okay. The right hip is solid. Kicking forward, again, the skirt kind of blocks him, but without it, he could kick all the way to 90. It has a full thigh swivel in there, big double jointed knee, or big pants, means it gets about 90 degrees of range. It looks pretty reasonable, and that's what it looks like from the back. And finally, he has the ball hinge ankles that every Broly going back to even the 1.0 from SHF has. So good design there. Isn't broken, no need to fix. And they're pretty sturdy. They go up maybe 20 or 30 degrees, down past 45. Ankle rocker, you can use that ball joint to get it easily past 45, way past 45 actually. And then very good toe hinge. So I've been doing some poses with the crossed arms, and these do not fit very nicely. As you can see, there's some big gaps left in his arm, even though this one's totally plugged in. This one, I'm having trouble getting it to plug in all the way. It'll go in, but then it's got to connect to this gauntlet. I don't think this is supposed to come apart either. There we go. That's with everything technically connected all the way. This is as far as I can push the right arm in. And then, yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure this is not supposed to come apart here. Normally these separate at the hand, but this does not separate at the hand for whatever reason. It's not super clean. It'll do the job from the right angle, but as soon as you maybe like turn him to the side, it's like, whoa, what the heck's going on there? I don't really know what's going on there. You can see the R there, so this is the right arm. It's just like not sculpted to fit around the shoulder piece. It's weird. Maybe that's why the right arm falls off too. Maybe this socket is too shallow, and that causes the peg to disconnect. But you can see, comes off pretty easily. And then to reconnect the arms, I like to put them into kind of a T pose, so I have the resistance from the body to push into. That seemed to go in pretty well. Does pop out a little too easily though. Like I said, does pop out on this right side too easily. And that's unfortunate. It gets a little annoying when posing him. You've got to be very careful moving the right arm, grabbing it by the shoulder, and then positioning the rest of the arm. You can get used to it, but it's just one of those like little quality of life, is this fun in hand things. Let's try swapping the face so you can see how that works. Face is attached vertically. I'm going to be very careful not to disturb the earrings when you do this. Sometimes I'm going to give him the screaming face. Uh-oh. See, there goes one of his earrings because it bumped into the neck. Impromptu earring demonstration. You just gotta kind of push it over the earlobe, set it so that it's kind of pinching that hole. Let's put him in a pose where he's doing a small key blast with the right hand. For that, pop the fist. The hands are a little bit soft, and so they go on without any trouble, which is great. I'm going to pose him so that he's winding up to throw one of his small green key blasts, and you can see it's basically just a solid, translucent green some kind of little mold defect, but that's going to get covered by where he holds it with his hand. And I actually really like the basic design for this key effect. It's not spiky, it's not jagged, it's just a smooth sphere, and I feel like this matches the animation way better than most effect pieces that we get with Dragon Ball figures, which I think are just all overdone, overcomplicated. There's something to be said for just clean, simple shapes. Goes right on the peg, nice and easy. Keep the arm connected. Sometimes Broly figures have a hard time holding their arms out like this. This one's doing a good job so far. I can even raise it up a little bit and it works really well. Between this guy and the Beast Deities, I think the Beast Deities is the more sturdy of the two. He doesn't have the arms that pop off issue, and his legs are definitely tighter than ZT. ZT's got a little bit of looseness in the hip, as we discussed. Ankle hinges, you can hear how tight they are. They're really tight. The ball joint going into the boot is fairly tight, but the swivel going into the foot is not super tight, and so that kind of compromises the stability a little bit. And he's got bigger hair, so all of that together makes him a little bit wobblier. If you're going to leave him in a display long term, you'll definitely want to use a stand, and it can be hard to find stands that work with Broly. I like this bendy metal arms. They're super sturdy. I think they're meant for like dolls or maybe Hot Toys sized figures. But that means they work really, really nicely for big characters like Broly. There's still enough width in that waist clamp to go around his waist. We want this arm big, long, extended behind him. We want the light source from the direction of the Ki Blast. That'll do two things. It'll help illuminate the Ki Blast, take advantage of the translucency, and it will make the Ki Blast itself seem like the light source. So I'm going to change up my lighting real quick. And I always think it looks cool to light characters from below when they're doing a Ki Blast. It kind of makes them seem like they're in some upside down lighting world and gives a little more drama to the attack. Let's brighten things up just a little bit. Okay, I'm back. I checked my reference from the movie, and for this one, we're going to have him do more of a push Ki Blast more than a throw. And for that, we're going to angle the blast more like this. Bend the elbow. Bring this hand this way. He's kind of flying this way and about to throw this blast. To convey this direction of motion, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to angle his neck down and his head back, and looking a little off to his left. Take advantage of the separate earrings here, and you can pose those to follow the motion. So this gives him some momentum this direction. We're going to bring this is a very annoying thing. Bring this arm out, and the goal here is just to give him a bunch of width. You can put a little more tension in the arms by bending the wrists. They're flying this way, so we're going to bring this right leg up as much as we can. You can see his head wobbling a little there, but that's because of the socket that I showed you earlier. And now we're getting somewhere. And now we just got to adjust. I think a lower camera angle works well for Broly. Makes him look extra big. The goal of this light at the top is mainly to illuminate the Ki Blast and give him a little bit of what's called rim lighting, where you can see this highlight here. These highlights kind of trace his outline from the back, and it just helps him pop off the background a little more. I'm gonna adjust this hand just a little bit. Give him a nice flexed shoulders. Really nice flexing his shoulders back pose. The figure's doing a great job with that. Remember to pose those earrings very carefully. Alright, we're back after making some adjustments. This is a super low angle. I've got the camera pointing this direction, whereas like straight horizontal would be something like this. I've brought it down here. I've got Broly pushing the top of the frame, so this is the midline here. He's in the upper half mostly, or at least his face and upper body is. He's slightly towards the left side of the frame. That helps with the sense of motion in that direction. I actually switched lenses on my camera to a longer telephoto lens so that I could get nice and far away and make lots of room for lots and lots of lights. I'll zoom out and show you in a second, but I just love when you're taking a photo and you notice a tiny little fuzz on the corner of his hair right here. Oh, I gotta go in there and fix that. Okay. Whew. Okay. We're good. Fuzz eliminated. Now, every light I have except for the overhead one, which I already showed you, is up there, just giving him some rim lighting. Every other light I have is blasting him from this side, and that's because, one, I wanted to light up this Ki Blast, and two, I wanted to give him a really high contrast look to bring out all of the details in the sculpt. But yeah, pulling back just a little, let's see my lighting set up over here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 lights. I've got them as close as I can to the frame without actually being in it, because I want them right up against that Ki Blast. One thing I haven't really figured out, and you may need like a softbox or something to diffuse the light to get rid of like these reflections in the Ki Blast. I think if I pull this light down and bring it more towards the center, that will do it for me. So here's the light source. There we go. Get it directly from below. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. What do you think? And it can be tempting to try to get the whole figure in frame, but one, Broly's such a big figure, and two, something else that conveys forward momentum is actually cropping him a little bit, because it's like he's started fully in the frame, and this is actually the shot in the movie that does this. He starts kind of far away and then flies towards Goku, and then kind of squeezes into the frame like this and blasts Goku in the face. Here's a little handheld behind the scenes. Blast him with light from this side to get that really high contrast lighting shadow, and then one light from above just to give him a little rim lighting on the shoulders and the hair. Here's another riff on that idea. I like how they animated Broly throwing ki blasts like someone throwing a shot put. It makes him seem really powerful, and so wanted to kind of capture some of that here with like the hyper extension in the shoulders, extreme over the shoulder camera angle that they did. I ended up not liking this one quite as much. Maybe if I move this light, that's a little better. But yeah, that's the idea with that one. It doesn't read quite as nicely as the other shot, but still cool. Puzzle time. The big ki blast comes in 19 pieces. It helps to separate the parts by type. From the inside out, we have the inner sphere, 6 inner shaft pieces, 6 shell pieces, and 6 outer shaft pieces. Each of the inner shaft pieces has this cut segment on one side, and that's because they are going to plug into the outer shaft piece. So starting with the inner ball, you pretty much can just pick a shape. That one looks nice and distinct. It's kind of like a spider or something. And there you go. Find its inverse. Remember, we're looking for the end that isn't cut out for the inner ball. So this one looks kind of like a T. There we go. Alright, next we need to find the outer shells. Alright, and it's probably going to be easiest if we do the outer shell and the outer shaft. That's the spider. Ding ding ding. I have a better idea. It's going to be easier if we put the shafts and shell pieces together and then plug them into the ball. Okay. And yeah, basically we're going to make a bunch of these now. What else we're going to do is we're going to put the hand on here first. Yeah, some of these feel a little loose, so you may need something to help hold it in place. Hopefully you can see where this is going. The pieces of the shell roughly line up. They don't all stay in super well though, so you might need some sticky tack or something. Very cool in concept, but lacking in the execution. You probably are going to have to do what I'm about to do, which is pose the figure first, then put the hand, then balance the last few light shafts, and we'll see what that looks like. And you can see it's like really not firmly in there, it's just kind of propped on itself. Pretty neat effect once you have it all set. I like this idea of like the shards of the ki blast. Really fits that like chaotic energy that Broly has. So cool idea, weird execution. Execution doesn't quite live up to the idea, but it is still cool, and you can do cool things with it if you are infinitely patient. Let's break out the green light. So we have the green over here going directly onto the effect. It's also cool if you put it on the background behind the effect. I'm not sure this one's powerful enough to really show up the way I'd like it to. So we're just going to put it directly on the effect, and I think that was pretty good. And then I have my low angle light down here. I think this figure looks amazing, but it definitely has some frustrations. The arms popping off at the bicep is the biggest one, the loose hip joint, the earrings falling off. I've been on the floor 3 times now searching for earrings. Pro tip, turn all the lights off, use a flashlight, and do a linear scan of the space where the part has fallen. That's been pretty reliable, not super fun, but the spotlight helps your eyes focus, and moving it helps your eyes notice objects that you're looking for. The crossed arms don't fit properly, the skirt isn't as soft as it could be, he felt really gross out of the box and needed a bath. The list is really stacking up, but man, does it just look amazing when you get it posed. I think my conclusion is I don't really recommend this. I definitely don't recommend this for most collectors. If you're an experienced collector and you've got to have the updated Z Broly, you'll probably be frustrated by it, but will find things to enjoy. It's pretty expensive. It was $135 when I got it off AliExpress. Model Hobby Store is another shop that usually has a good price, but their ordering system is a little opaque, I will say. I think the size works really well, especially for like group displays. People don't take that into account. They're just like, oh, he's too big. But like, it's kind of nice that he's big because in the movie, there's like 5 people fighting him at once. And you can display him like that in a reasonable amount of space. But ultimately, I think I wish Bandai had just made this, and I know Bandai's quality is pretty solid on the big characters. They haven't really missed on any that I've owned. Maybe someday they'll see fit to update the core villains from Dragon Ball Z, but for now, we're waiting and dealing with the third-party frustration, which honestly, I would rather not. I would rather not buy third-party figures. I just want Bandai to make the figures instead, but they're not doing it. Let me know what you think of Bandai's recent output on the SHF Dragon Ball line. Let me know what you think their roadmap should look like. I recently made a list of all the Dragon Ball figures that I would buy if they made them, and it came to 171 figures. I think there were 3 from Namek, a pool, Battle Damaged Piccolo, and a redo of Namek Gohan with the bowl cut. But yeah, then I had over 20 for the Z movies, over 20 for GT, over 30 for the Android Saga, and almost 40 for the Buu Saga. Will they ever do any of them? I don't know at this point. But let me know what you think. What do you think Tamashii should do next? What would you like their roadmap to be? This has been the Art of Action Figures. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.